We are live, ma'am.
Can I start?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. So, hello everyone. I'm Harshada Wirkud. And first, let me thank Mugha ma'am and Kurus sir for inviting me to speak on this topic that I'm so obsessed with and I so much love. So, what I'm going to talk about today is Stele, on which I have been working since 2012, wherein the subject was mostly met with disdain, indifference, or scorn. But thankfully, it has received some much required attention as of now. The subject is quite interesting and vast, and it's quite impossible for me to discuss each and every aspect of it within that I'm working on right now here. But hopefully, I'll be able to cover some major points during this hour that I'm going to talk about it. So, let us start about it and let's dive right into it. Now, steles are essentially inscriptions, but they're quite unique in their own sense. Let us see why. And before that, let us understand that I'll be mostly discussing about these steles based on data that I have obtained primarily from Maharashtra, though this phenomena is quite pan-Indian. I have some ancillary data also that I have considered, but mostly it is based on the data set that I have obtained from Maharashtra. So ascurses are grants and or law edicts that were mostly issued from 9th and 10th century onwards here in Maharashtra and are attributed to have been first issued by Shilaharas. Now, this tradition, however, was carried forward well into the 16th, 17th century. They were issued by Yadavas, Vijayanagar Sangamas, Bahamanis, as well as Adil Shah. Now, there are two aspects that they were issued by such different dynasties, including Muslim rulers also, and continued over such a long period of time, that is from 10th to 16th century, is something that is not seen otherwise. So what I'm going to cover here is, this is a synopsis. What are Gadhegals, period of issue, previous work, then what exactly the nomenclature, that is Gadhegal, donkey stones, ascursteles, etc. Then what is the general typology, what are the idea, concepts and discussions about it, and public perception and treatment of the stones. So these are named as ascur stones, Gadhegals, Gadhegal, donkey stones, etc. due to the way that they have been made. They are basically divided into 3 panels. Okay. Now, usually with an inscription panel and 2 graphic ones. One of the sculptural panel depicts the curse that is mentioned in the inscription, describing the law, grant or the law, and hence they are termed so. Now, the curse is directed at the miscreants or lawbreakers, etc., warning them against breaking, evading, violating, and are not following whatever is explicitly mentioned in the inscription. The curse is almost always in Marathi, and that is the vernacular of the period, and reads, Mae Gadhave Zavize, which translates to, your mother will be made to copulate with a donkey. This written curse is what is depicted as is in the graphic panel, that shows a woman being mounted by or in the act of being mounted by a donkey. Interesting to note is that many a times the donkey has a neck band. If you can see here, a donkey is shown wearing a neck band, thus probably alluding it to its domestication or ownership. Now, curses and grants for miscreants have always been there, right from when the grand stones or couplets were made. Now, and the curses range from the Mahapatikas to being said to be born as pinworm in pieces from some million years. But such representation of such a curse of reverse bestiality in both written as well as in graphic form indirect correlation has been observed for the first time in case of Ascot steles. Also looking at how long this was continued, this tradition of erecting the stones was continued, its persistence of such a, you can say, nearly defined typology is perhaps second to only to religious iconography. Now, the reason I have used the word nearly here is because though this typology is common, it was not necessarily strictly adhered to. There are many inter and intra-regional variations that are observed, and sometimes there are additions to the list of curses, and graphically too, some of which, as I told you, are graphically displayed also. Now, the general typology is this, as I told about, is wherein there are two graphic panels and one is inscribed one. Now, the order is usually, hold on, let me first show this because I'm describing how they usually are. The order is usually one graphic panel followed by the inscription, followed by the second graphic panel. The first panel at the top is called the Kalasha panel or the Sun Moon Kalasha panel, and it depicts a sun as a circle, moon as a crescent, along with a Kalash in between. Now the Kalash can be Purnaghata or a temple spire. Here in this case of this image, it is a temple spire. Okay, the sun and moon denote eternity, that is Yavata Chandra Divakaru. That is, till the sun and moon exist, so will the grant or edict will exist till that time. And sometimes, and the Kalash denotes the sanctity given to the grant of the grant. Sometimes instead of a Kalash, there is an ascetic or some religious entity, some religious entity that is depicted here in the descriptive panel, like a Shivalinga or a small religious descriptive panel. Now, it's quite rare, but it's still there. Now, this lets us a glimpse into the religious belief of the issuer, the person who had issued these grants. And sometimes there is no Kalash or such, but only the sun and moon. Like there is no Shivalinga or anything, but just the sun and moon is there. But that is also quite rare. Now, the inscription panel that follows begins more often than not with an invocation to a deity. Mostly it is Swasti Shri. It then gives the details such as the dates, months, issuer, and his eulogies, followed by to whom it is issued, what is issued, the details of the grant and all. This is followed by boon verses. That is, usually it is Zodze Paru Tayacha Dharmo. And then it is followed by a curse verse. That is the as curse. The graphic panel then depicts the curse. Sometimes the as curse graphic panel comes after the sun and moon panel. So the inscription panel and the as curse panel are interchangeable. And sometimes, however, the curse, the graphic panel of the curse is depicted in a small niche or at the side of an inscription where there is some space. Or sometimes, however, we have also cases where some of which I'll show you going forward, where there is either a panel absent or the as curse depiction panel is intrusively displayed at the cost of the inscription too. Now, this sheds some light, some important light of like why and how the as curse graphic panel became very important as as the time went on. Because as I told you that this has been going for a long time. So it sort of converted itself into a signage. The variations that we observe in this are as per stele types and subtypes. It is as this donkey is shown with a woman, only a donkey is shown. Now these two again have subtypes wherein they are with an inscription or without an inscription. Then the other major type is only inscription. And the regional variation shows presence of a sow instead of a woman. That is, a donkey is shown copulating with a sow, a female pig. Then there is a presence of a Brahman. Then there is also presence of a Brahman killing a cow, thus guilty of Go Hatya Paat. Now, when we move to other regions, that is Pan-India, Along with these, we also find a donkey mounting a female donkey, that is a jenny, and other variations too are observed. I'll show you the images later on. Now, the inscription also shows variations too, wherein the curse that reads that the mother will be made to copulate with the donkey, or instead of a donkey, she will be made to copulate with a donkey and a horse, or the wife will be made to do so, or that the violator himself, instead of the usual curse, it states that the violator himself is a donkey, dog, or a chandar. Now, one very important point to note of as curses is that though most of them are freestanding, there are also many that are depicted on temple walls, lintels, and pillars. They are rare, but they are there. And as of now, I have found more than, you can say, 5 such instances out of the data that I have from Maharashtra. Now, sometimes we observe as curses with one or more depiction. That is of a Savatsadhenu. Okay. This is I'm sorry, I did not show you the images. Let me first show you the images of the types and subtypes. Now, this is as with the woman. This is a typical Asker Stele. This is without any inscription, just the image. The first one is from Ranbad, which is with CSMVS. And the second is something that I found from Lonard. Now, this is only a donkey shown here. This is with an inscription. And this is without an inscription again, with only a donkey that is shown. This is from Bharat Itihas Sanshodhak Mandal. And this is from Paushi. This is only inscription which is found on the temple lintel at Deulgaon Raji, down. Now, these are the other variations that I was talking about. You can see that here there is a Brahman that is talking to a donkey that is shown. The inscription is here with the sun. Sadly, it has been broken. This is the moon. This is a very interesting Gadhegal, which has the inscription. And instead of, as I told you, there are many different variations. So instead of a donkey and all shown here, it's a covered bearer is shown bringing water to a Shivalinga. This is from Nagpur Museum, State Museum, and this is from Goa State Museum. Now, this is the Rajbita stone inscription after Prosika Firway. It shows a donkey mounting a female pig and a camel. So, as I was telling you, that sometimes we observe Askas with one more depiction, that is of a Savatsadhenu. So, a cow with a calf is shown. In front of her is usually a manga. Now, V.V. Mirashi theorizes that this represents a king looking after his praja through taxes that are shown in representation of a mango. Now, the reason they both are depicted together is to show that the person, the issuer, can give as well as take back. And then this is the from Satara Museum. This is in Arabic. A Muslim ruler had issued Dist in around late 16th century, 17th century, early 17th century. So, the Ascurses are mostly well-dressed uniface stones, but we do have bifaced Ascur stones also, such as the Dabhol Ascur stele, which is with CSMVS. We also have bilingual and ones with 2 scripts or script other than Devanagari. We have these in Arabic, Persian, Sanskrit, and Marathi. Now, there is a single instance of a copper plate that which has inscribed Ascurs and is probably only known instance from Maharashtra. It is the Jalgaon Tamrapat issued in Shaka 1124. That is 1202 CE by Jaitra Samantaraj. Now, there are approximately, out of the 150-200 Ascurses that I have collected till now, there are approximately 70 known Ascurses of Shilaharas, 10 of Yadavas, 3 to 4 of Vijayanagar Sangamas, and 1 each of Kadamba, Chalukya, Jaitra Samanta, Bahamani, Adil Shahi, and Alunayakraya period. Of these, 7 are monetary grants, 16 are land grants, around 6 are edicts, and rest deal with other donatory purposes like donation of grains, idols, etc. Now, though aegis have been reported and treated as inscriptions by many, not many people have worked on theorizing the aegis aspect of these inscriptions, except Sri R.C. Dhire, a renowned historian, and currently myself. So they have been reported by Sri Tulpure, Sri V.V. Mirashi, Kolte, Dhire, Dhopte, Dhanavade, Gyani, Purui, Dalal, Dahisarkar, Kale, Munde, Pujari, Mansingh, and Wirkud. So, talking about these aegis, the reason that they were so scorned at is because of the image of a donkey being copulating a woman. There have been instances wherein they have been destroyed or converted into something else, an aspect which I'll be dealing with further during this course of an hour. And there have been instances wherein even learned people have told that this is something not to be studied upon, and turned up their noses against it and told, kept it into captivity, like not on display, even in museums. But thankfully, this is changing. So, going further, talking about the ideas, concepts, and discussion about this, let us discuss about it. Now, what are the ideas and concepts that are put forth till date? What are the discussions on the aegis yielded? Now, as per Sri R.C. Dhire, he equates the woman with Mother Earth. He basically talks about different goddesses and how it evolves, how it connects, like starting from Nirati and everything. He basically connects it to Mother Earth and says that the act of copulation with the donkey is basically means that Gadhvatsa Nangar Piravne. It means that if a donkey is tied to a plow and it is used to plow the field will turn barren. So this act is what is represented into the aegis theory. However, but this theory as such may really be plausible, and he had made, but we have to understand that the time when he had made this observation, it was based on a homogeneous data set of 10 to 15 aegis, not more than that. If I'm not wrong, the number of aegis that he had used to derive this concept from are the typical aegis without any variations, hence homogeneous. And it does not explain the variations that I have discussed above. That is, when there's a female pig, when a donkey is mounting a donkey, a female donkey, a jenny, and also the Gohatya Patak and everything else. Also, let's not ignore that though the grand details were usually in Sanskrit, the first was almost always in Marathi, that is the vernacular of the period, or when the aegis were intrusively or graphically present as a signage. Also, the discussion about the theory is quite lengthy and will take lots of time. We cannot really put everything in this one lecture. So let us discuss it further whenever we have time. Just give me a moment. So, aegis theories, if I may, are like a window, a microcosm of the period. So they not only provide us information or insight into the society, the economy, the religion, politics of the period, but also the linguistics of the period, development of scripts, development of language, then the numismatics of the period, then symbolism of the period, as well as makes us curious why this certain animal was used. Also, how we still use these curses, how they are still perceived right now when we talk about this as curses with people with whom these curses are in the temples and everything. The ideas that the ideas that the people who are associated with it, the ideas are very interesting. However, we have to understand that the visual representation and how it is perceived is very interesting when talking about the ascursus. Now, the aspect of pure repulsion that it generates, and that it is a punishment, it being a punishment, is something that still resonates whenever they talk about ascursus. So, the use of a donkey may represent lower status and hence may be used for a stigma. Now, the theory of what exactly this depiction means is somehow connected to the use of horses, and we'll have to study the different sacrifices that are associated with. I'm working on this aspect also, talking about the Rajasuya Yajna, Ashwamedha Yajna, as well as the goddesses, as Sri Dhere has stated in his when he was theorizing about it. Now, such as Kalratri, Niritti, Shitala. But this discussion, as I said, is quite long and not for this time. Now, we get information when talking about the numismatic aspect of this, we get information of currency used during this period, such as Gadyana, Porithi Dramma, Dam, Tanka, Dramma. Also, we get lots of information about measurements, such as Kuvali, share, etc. Like whenever there is a grant that is given to a temple, it talks about the share bhardanya that is given, grain that has been given, the type of grain that has been given, and all. Another important aspect is it shows development of the language of Marathi, basically its evolution, how it evolved. The period when they were issued, when they were started issued, it shows rigidity in caste, religion, societal norms, economy, etc. So this is when Marathi developed as language of the masses. And hence it is interesting how earliest Sanskrit inscriptions followed by mix, like earlier when we talk about ascursus, and what I've observed is that the earliest inscriptions are usually in Sanskrit, then that followed with Sanskrit mixed with Marathi, and then by the time we come to Yadava period, it's mostly in Marathi. But again, here, very interesting thing to note is that the ascursus is almost always in Marathi. So, so this is something that more and more masses, this is something that more and more masses could understand. And if they couldn't read, if there was no literacy as such, there was always a graphic panel that was present. So only most masses, but then again, very interesting to notice that this grant were given to the people. So who was this, to whom was this curse directed to and all? So most masses did not have land. Now, thus it provides a glimpse into how feudalism evolved from the Agraharas towards Koti. So, these stones also tell us about the obvious deteriorating position of women, where the male and important women of the household could be violated. Thus, if a man of a house evaded the law, so a man is not punished, but a woman is, thus indicating that her chastity was used as a parameter of person's worth in society. And she was considered as a mere object. of the ancient religions, that is Jainism, Buddhism, and Hinduism. So during this period, Hinduism was flourishing the most. The Smritis and the Dharma Shastras and their commentaries were held authoritative, and they were followed very rigidly during this period. And the practice of untouchability, etc., had started developing. The Shrutis and commentaries talk about Nishta, that is Vedic sacrifices for higher classes, and Purta, that is Vedic, that is sacrifices that are open for all to attain nirvana. And this is the reason it connects to the sacrifices that I was talking about earlier. Also, we get information about many place names, uh, many village names, family names, etc. from these as curses, and they can be corroborated with different texts that are available of that period. For example, Mahikavati Chibakkar. We have information about places like Ranward, Sasward, etc. from Aska steles, which are present even now. Also, temples such as the Kalka Burwa temple, which is mentioned in the Aska steles from Alibag. It is still present, and the askas that is found there, the earliest askas that has been found in Akshi, is near the Kalka Burwa temple, which is now currently, they have made a nice shade and everything and installed both the askas from Akshi together. So even there is a mention of Tulzapur temple, and there was just recently an askas that was found while working at Mahalakshmi temple in Kolhapur. Now, one more interesting thing about askas is that most of the curses, askas steles, the stones that were issued, are found in places that are rich when it comes to agriculture and all, or places that are near port cities or anything like Diveagar has 5 ascurses in that small uh, area. Then most of the ascurses that are found are inland and away from and very less ascurses are found when we go towards the mountainous region of Maharashtra. So this one aspect is also quite interesting when we speak about ascus steles, how they were issued in areas of prosperity. Now, then talking about the information that we obtained, very common is the mention of Mhatara in many of the ascurses, wherein they are talking about Mhatara. Now, Mhatara here is basically the name of a clan, which is currently we call as Mhatre. So this is one of the examples. Now, use of this curses is still carried on even now also. When we talk about Ghoda Lavne or Gadhav Lavne, this is something, these curses are still used in Konkan area and all. This, and also we have various phrases and idioms that involve donkey are still used. Ukeda Hunkaila Zani and all. All these curses are still in use. So, and also again, we use the Purna Ghata, that is Mangal Kalash, in many ceremonies. And we also start our any auspicious thing with the Shri or Swasti Shri when we are starting something auspicious. So it also shows a continuity of tradition. So when we are talking about has curses, as I told you that earlier they were not very much studied because of this aspect of abhorrence that was attached to it because of the image. But the same holds true even now. Like when we are talking about ascus with people, there is this repulsion, fear, indifference that is attached. And out of this, sometimes they go to two extremes. Either it is, or we can say 3 ways it goes. Either they are totally ignored, or they are deified or made into something that they are not. Otherwise, they are destroyed. Like most of the, like when I was searching for many ascurses along the coast, when I got some leads and I went to places, I got to know that either they were destroyed or, kept, people were not ready to show me the ascurses, or sometimes they were changed into something totally different. And in many cases, not many, but some cases, they were also thrown away into the sea because they thought that this is something which is very bad. Like at Vasai, when I was going, one of the aspects is that the person told me that they had uh, Samudrat Vadhavlo. That is basically they threw it into the sea because they thought this is something which is very bad. Then I had a case wherein I had to excavate asperses. I'm sorry. Example is from Chaul and from Srivardhan. I had to actually excavate the asperses because they had buried them deep into the ground because they said that they don't want to see it. Then there were cases wherein asperses were either, just thrown away and forgotten. And then because of the vagaries of time, the imageries and everything on it were destroyed. Then in some cases, as I showed you earlier, like it was used as a washing board. So basically, this underlying connotation of it being a punishment, the fear, it's still not lost. It's either broken, changed, some deity like Shanidev, Parvati, even Ganpati, or simply ignored and used as a washing board. So thus there are sometimes rituals also that surround when we talk about deification. There are also rituals that surround this Asker Stele, which is also again a very interesting aspect of it. But I won't complain if they're deified and made into something else because that means they are being preserved. So talking about this public perception, as you can see, I'll show you some images. This one has been made into a Shanidev. It's given a daily vogue of oil, flowers, and everything. This is an asperse. Here, a typical one. Then the other one, this is something that was destroyed in a fit of rage by a drunkard. Because he blamed it being found in his field and that it destroyed him. Though the real reason was because he was drinking, but still he blamed it on it and destroyed it because of the image on it. And this one that I found from Lunar, I discovered it from Lunar. This was used as a washing board. I was just walking past by searching for another aspect from Lunar when I found this, when I discovered this. I told the people to preserve it, but the last time I went there, it was again, it went somewhere else. It's not at the place where it was. So this is what I wanted to talk to you about when we talk about asperses. There are also, as I told you, there are rituals that are involved, like an asperse at Paushi. Give me a moment, I'll show you the image. Okay. This asperse from Paushi, near Malvan in Sindhudurga. This is considered to be a pig, and they called it Sonyachi love. And they have an elaborate ritual that surrounds it, wherein during a specific period in Chaitra, they go and hunt a wild boar, make naivedya, offer to it, and everything. So there is this ritual. There is another asperse which is in Vargali, and it is like earlier when there was still not a ban. It was given a body of Reda, that is a buffalo, male buffalo. But after it was banned, they still give a cock to it, a rooster to it. Then there is another one which is near in Alibag itself, where it is considered as a Gauri Day, and people put small stones in front of it whenever they are walking, because that Gauri Day is basically looking after their ship. So basically, when you're talking about asperses, these are the corpus of this unique epigraphs is a treasure trove of information And how such stones can help build almost every facet of a given period. They give us an in-depth understanding of how the period, in all its aspects, evolved, how it changed over temporal and spatial period. It is socio-economic situations of the time, and also the current perception of them is quite a great study into the human psyche, collective or otherwise. So this is what I have to talk about as curses, and I hope I have been able to whatever information I have, made the major points, expressing the major points into this art. So I still have time. Yogini?
Yes, ma'am.
Actually, I have finished talking.
No problem, ma'am. I'll
It's
just
fine.
check if there are any questions.
Yes, please.
No.
Was I going very fast?
No, ma'am. It was nice. I mean, proper speed. As of now, there are no questions.
Okay. So if there are any questions, you can always shoot it to me. You have my email ID or even on WhatsApp. I'll revert to them.
Sure, ma'am. I'll do that.
I hope it's okay. I mean, I finished quite early.
Yes, ma'am. It's okay. No problem.
Okay. All right.
Thank you so much for this wonderful lecture. And all the viewers, don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We also have our own email ID, institucentrust@gmail.com. And for the month of December, we have a lineup of amazing courses and walks. On 3rd December, we have a natural trail at Rani Bagh, Baikala with Dr. Lattu and Dr. Salunke. On 4th December, we have the Mandapeshwar Gaming Trail by the members of Project Helia. From 5th December to 16th December, we have the Civilizations of the World Series 4, Southeast Asian Civilizations by Dr. Kurush Dalal, and a lot of things are planned for the month of January. So please follow our website for the latest updates. Thank you.